และเราก็มาพบกันอีกใน chapter ที่9 พาร์ทที่2ค่ะเป็นเรื่องเกี่ยวกับฤดูใบไม้ผลิที่สวยงามทีเดียวค่ะมาฟังกันต่อเลยค่ะ Rabbit stood up in the road ahead, their little front paw dangling down and their nose sniffing, and the sun shone through their tail, twitching ears. Then they bowed away with the flat of a little white tail. Twice Laura and Mary saw deer looking at them with their large dark eyes from the shadow among the trees. It was 7 miles to town. The town was named Papin, and it was on the shore of Lake Papin. After a long time, Laura began to see glimpses of blue water between the trees. The hard road turned to soft sand. The wagon wheels went deep down in it, and the horses pulled the sweated. Often Pa stopped them to rest for a few minutes. Then all at once the road came out of the woods, and Laura saw the lake. It was as blue as the sky, and it went to the edge of the world. As far as she could see, there was nothing but flat, blue water. Very far away, the sky and the water met, and there was a dark blue line. The sky was large overhead. Laura had never known that the sky was so big. There was so many empty space all around her that she felt small and frightened. Glad that Pa and Ma were there. Suddenly, the sunshine was hot. The sun was almost overhead in the large, empty sky, and the cool woods stood back from the edge of the lake. Even the big woods seemed smaller under so much sky. Pa stopped the horses and turned around. On the wagon seat, he pointed ahead with his whip. There are Laura and Mary, he said. There is the town of Pepin. Laura stood up on the board and Pa held her safe by arm, so she could see the town. When she saw it, she could hardly breathe. She knew how Yankee Doodle felt when he could not see the town because there were so many houses. Right on the edge of the lake, there was one great big building. That was the store, Pa told her. It was not made of blocks. It was made of wide clipboards running up and down. The sand spread all around it. Behind the store, there was a clearing. Rather than Pa's clearing in the woods at home, standing among the stumps. There were more houses than Laura could count. They were not made of blocks either. They were made of boards, like the store. Laura had never imagined so many houses, and they were so close together. Of course, they were much smaller than the store. One of them was made of new boards that not had time to get glazed. It was the yellow color of newly cut wood. Living in all these houses, smoke rose up from their chimneys. Though it was not Monday, some women had spread out a watching on the bushes and stumps by her house. Several girls and boys were playing in the sunshine in the open space between the store and the houses. They were jumping from one stump to the next stump and shouting, "Well, that's poppin'," Pa said. Laura just nodded her head. She looked and looked and could not say a word. After a while, she sat down again and the horses went on. They left the wagon on the shore of the lake. Pa unhinged the horses and tied one on each side of the wagon box. Then he took Laura and Mary by the hand, and Ma came beside them, carrying baby Carrie. They walked through the deep sand to the store. The warm sand came in over the top of Laura's shoes. There was a wide platform in front of the store, and at one end of it a step went up to it out of the sand. Laura's heart was beating so fast that she could hardly climb the step. She was trembling all over. This was the store to which Pa came to trade his furs. When they went in, the storekeeper knew him. The storekeeper came out from behind the counter and spoke to him and to Ma, and then Laura and Mary had to show their manners. Mary said, "How do you do?" But Laura could not say anything. The storekeeper said to Pa and Ma, "That's a pretty little girl you got there." And he admired Mary's golden curl, but he did not say anything about Laura or about her curls. They were ugly and brown. The store was full of things to look at. All along one side of it were shelves full of color prints and calicoes. There were beautiful pinks and blues and reds and browns and purples. On the floor along the sides of the blank counters, there were cakes of nails and cakes of round, gray chalk, and there were big wooden pails full of candy. There were sacks of salt and sacks of stored sugar. In the middle of the store was a bowl made of shiny wood with a glittering bright brochure, and there were steel axe heads and hammer heads and saws and all kinds of knives, hunting knives and skinning knives and butchering knives and jackknives. There were big boots, little boots, big shoes, and little shoes. Laura could have looked for weeks and not seen all the things that were in the store. She had not known there were so many things in the world. Pa and Ma traded for a long time. The storekeeper took down bowls and bowls of beautiful calicoes and spread them out for Ma to finger and look at and price. Laura and Mary looked, but most not touch. Every new color and pattern was prettier than the last, and there were so many of them. Laura did not know how Ma could ever choose. Ma chose 2 patterns of calico to make shirts for Pa, and a piece of brown denim to make him a jumper. Then she got some white cloth to make a sheet and underwear. Pa got enough calico to make Ma's new apron. Ma said, "Oh no, child, I don't really need it." But Pa laughed and said she must pick what out, or he would get her the turkey red piece with a big yellow pattern. Ma smiled and flushed pink, and she picked out a pattern of rosebud and leaf on a soft fawn-colored ground. Then Pa got for himself a pair of gallows and some tobacco to smoke in his pipe. And Ma got a pound of tea and a little paper package of store sugar to have in the house when company came. It was a pearl brown sugar, not dark brown, like the maple sugar Ma used it for every day. When all the trading was done, the storekeeper gave Mary and Laura each a piece of candy. They were so astonished and so pleased that they just stood looking at their candies. Then Mary remembered and said, "Thank you." Laura could not speak. Everybody was waiting, and she could not make a sound. Ma had to ask her, "What do you say, Laura?" Then Laura opened her mouth and purred and whispered, "Thank you." After that, they went out of the store. Both pieces of candy were white and flat and thin and heart-shaped. There was printing of them in red letters. Ma read it for them. Mary said, "Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you." Laura said only, "Sweet is too sweet." The pieces of candy were exactly the same size. Laura's printing was larger than Mary's. They all went back through the sand to the wagon on the lake shore. Pa fetched the horses on the bottom of the wagon's box. Some oats he had brought for their dinner. Ma opened the picnic box. They all sat on the warm sand near the wagon and ate bread and butter and cheese, hard-boiled eggs and cookies. The wave of the lake Pepin curled up on the shore at their feet and slid back with the smallest kissing sound. After dinner, Pa went back to the store to talk a while with other men. Ma sat holding Carrie quietly until she went to sleep, but Laura and Mary ran along the lake shore, picking up pretty bubbles that had been rolled back and forth by the wave until they were polished smooth. There were no pebbles like that in the big woods. When she found a pretty one, Laura put it in her pocket, and there were so many, each prettier than the last, that she filled her pocket full. Then Pa called, and they ran back to the wagon. For the horses were hitched up, and it was time to go home. Laura was so happy when she ran through the sand to Pa, with all those beautiful pebbles in her pocket. But when Pa picked her up and tossed her into the wagon, a dreadful thing happened. The heavier pebbles tore her pocket right out of her dress. The pocket fell, and the pebbles rolled all over bottom of the wagon's box. Laura cried because she had torn her best dress. Ma gave Carrie to Pa and came quickly to look the torn place. Then she said, "It's all right." "Crying, Laura," she said, "I can fix it." She showed Laura that the dress was not torn at all, nor the pocket. The pocket was a little bag sewed into the seam of the dress skirt, and hanging under it, only the seam had a lip. Ma could sew the pocket in again as good as new. Pick up the pretty bubbles, Laura, Ma said, and another time don't be so greedy. So Laura gathered up the bubbles, put them in the pocket, and carried the pocket in her wrap. She did not mind very much when Pa laughed at her for being such a greedy little girl, that she took more than she could carry away. Nothing like that ever happened to Mary. Mary was a good little girl who always keep her dress clean and neat and mended her manners. Mary had lovely golden curl, and her candy heart had a poem on it. Mary looked very good and sweet, unlumbered and clean, sitting on the board beside Laura. Laura did not think it was fair, but it had been a wonderful day, the most wonderful day in her whole life. She thought about the beautiful lake and the town she had seen, and the big store full of so many things. She held the bubble carefully in her lap, and her candy heart wrapped carefully in her handkerchief, until she got home and could put it away to keep always. It was too pretty to eat. Enjoyed along on the homeward road through the big woods. The sun set, and the woods grew darker. But before the last of the twilight was gone, the moon rose, and they were safe because Pa had his gun. The soft moonlight came down through the tree tops and made patches of light and shade on the road ahead. The horses' hoofs made a cheerful clippity-clop. Laura and Mary did not say anything because they were very tired, and Ma sat silently holding baby Carrie, sleeping in her arms. But Pa sang softly, "My precious and precious, true we may roam, but it's ever so humble. There's no place like home." แล้วเรื่องราว chapter ที่ 9 ก็จบลงอย่างสวยงามค่ะ แล้วเรามาตามฟังกันใหม่ว่าใน chapter ต่อๆไปจะสนุกสนานน่าสนใจและประทับใจไปกับการใช้ชีวิตของผู้คนเก่าแก่ในอเมริกาอย่างไรบ้าง